Hey everyone, this video is for Vloggerheads. I have a real issue with how some of you are taking my first video saying that 50 Shades of Grey is domestic violence. It is. I am not attacking the bondage and whatever community. I'm simply sticking to a narrow point that this movie is about a guy who is rich, white, picked out this young, vulnerable woman and has convinced her to do these things that involve violence to her body. And as I understand the book, or as I remember, I didn't read the book, but apparently at the end, she says, "Stop." She has had enough. And my point is that the movie comes out on right as domestic violence is front and center in the national list of subjects that we talk about, thankfully. And there are those who are trying to make others think, and I'm not at the forefront of this activist movement. I'm not going to be so self-serving as to say, hey, I'm one of the ones that started the conversation. I'm not. But I agree with the conversation. I agree with what they're saying. The bottom line is this, okay? Someone who takes on the kind of practice that's presented in 50 Shades of Grey, some guy, immediately places himself at the whim of a woman who will one day say, hey, you know what, I didn't like it. And all of a sudden, everything, and this is real talk, everything that they did becomes revisionist history. That session in the Red Room becomes kidnapping, and so on. And you could line all that up, and next thing you know, that fellow would have a criminal lawsuit against him. He would be in trouble. And then it would hit the airwaves, and we would say, oh my goodness, it's another terrible example of domestic violence. And yet, some of you on Vloggerheads say, oh, 50 Shades of Grey isn't about domestic violence, and it's not about the community, and you're attacking the community. I am not attacking the community. I'm talking about that specific movie and what is done in that movie and in the book, okay? And the fact that what you all are missing is, again, to repeat myself, those kind of activities could easily be turned around and be painted as criminal, and the guy's got a problem. So why in the heck are you glorifying that kind of behavior if that's the case? It makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense to glorify that kind of behavior. It makes no sense to deify the people who do it. It just doesn't. Why set up this kind of crazy making situation? Why? Don't you have something better going on? It boggles the mind. As I said, you can have sex without violence. You can have mutual masturbation. You can have all these different great ways of sharing yourself with your partner, or however, without that stuff, you know? That really boggles the mind to me, that we, on the one hand, have this conversation about how bad domestic violence is, and yet we're not talking about how to eliminate situations that could easily be turned to look like that by someone who maybe had more than their bad share of happenings in a particular week and started to look at the world entirely differently, including their relationship with the guy. And that happens an awful lot. An awful lot. So my point is, why allow that? Now, I mentioned law enforcement, and someone, Sindona, I think her name was, or his name, was saying that, why bring in law enforcement because this is a matter of breaking the law. That's not my point. I'm saying that in terms of the national conversation, it would be nice to hear a DA or a public defender or someone talk about their view of 50 Shades of Grey and whether or not they think it promotes domestic violence or is domestic violence. That was what I was trying to say. It didn't come out the right way. I wasn't talking about what you presented. So, there. Make videos about this stuff. Let's talk. That's what I'm saying. Talk about this. We need to have a conversation.